Okay, so picture the Rock of Gibraltar. It's home to Europe's only wild monkey population, the famous Barbary macaques. These guys are super smart, very social, and they live right alongside tons of tourists. This gives scientists this incredible real-time window into how primates and humans interact. But lately, researchers have noticed them doing something, well, something really, really weird. Yeah, you're looking at it right now. They're eating dirt. And I don't mean they're just accidentally getting some in their mouth. Nope, they are intentionally eating soil, like it's a snack. And it's not just a one-time thing either. It's become a regular habit. So you can imagine the big question for the scientists was pretty straightforward. Why on earth are these monkeys eating dirt? So as you can imagine, this strange behavior immediately grabbed the attention of researchers, in this case from the University of Cambridge. I mean, it's a perfect scientific mystery, right? It was time for them to play detective, follow the clues, and try to figure out what was behind this seriously puzzling new habit. You know, this behavior actually has a scientific name. It's called geophagy. And while eating dirt isn't totally unheard of, we see it in other animals, even in some human cultures, it has never been a regular part of life for the macaques on Gibraltar. So this was brand new. And whenever you see a new behavior pop up in the animal kingdom, it always begs the same question. What changed? Well, the first and most obvious change in these monkeys' world, it's us, humans. And more to the point, the food we carry around. So that's exactly where the researchers started their investigation, looking for a direct link between the monkey's diet and this very strange new habit. And bam, here's the first huge clue. It turns out that almost 20%, 1/5, of everything these monkeys eat is junk food they get from tourists. We're talking chocolate, potato chips, ice cream, all the stuff that is absolutely not on their natural menu of things like leaves, seeds, and insects. Okay, the plot thickens. The connection gets way, way clearer when you look at where this is happening. So in the areas that are just packed with tourists, where junk food is everywhere, that's where you see 72% of all the soil eating. But then you look at the one area where there's a monkey troop that has absolutely no contact with tourists, and guess what? There's zero soil eating. None. The link here is, well, it's pretty hard to ignore. And the evidence just keeps piling up when you start looking at the seasons. So in the winter, there are fewer tourists, right? Well, the macaques eat about 40% less junk food. And, you guessed it, the amount of soil eating drops right along with it by about 31%. The pattern is just crystal clear. More junk food equals more eating dirt. Okay, so we know what they're doing, and we know where they're doing it. But that still leaves the biggest question. Why? All the evidence points to this absolutely fascinating idea. The monkeys aren't just eating dirt for the heck of it. They're actually self-medicating. Now, remember that term, geophagy? Like I said, it's not totally new. Other animals and even people will sometimes eat soil to get certain minerals, or maybe to help neutralize toxins in their food. But what these Gibraltar macaques are up to, well, it seems to be for a completely different reason. And this is where we get to what the scientists are calling the protection hypothesis. The big idea here is that the macaques aren't eating soil to get extra nutrients. Nope. They're trying to protect their stomachs from all the junk they're eating, all that sugar, fat, and dairy that their bodies just aren't built for. It's basically the primate version of you or me reaching for an antacid after a really heavy meal. So how exactly does eating dirt help? Well, the clay-rich soil seems to work in 3 ways. First, it can literally line their gut, acting like a physical barrier. Second, it helps soothe the irritation caused by foods their stomachs just can't handle. Think about it, things like ice cream are a big problem since most adult monkeys are lactose intolerant. And third, it might even bring in some good bacteria to help rebalance their whole gut system, which has been thrown totally out of whack by all that junk food. Okay, so the fact that these macaques are self-medicating is already pretty incredible, right? But the story gets even cooler. It turns out this isn't just some individual instinct kicking in. It actually seems to be a learned behavior passed from one monkey to another. We're talking about the birth of a brand new macaque culture. And here's the proof. Check out this number. A whopping 89% of the time a monkey was spotted eating soil, other macaques were right there with them, often watching really closely. This isn't something they're sneaking off to do in private. It's a public thing, which is super strong evidence that they're learning it from each other. And just like human cultures have their own local traditions, so do these monkeys. Get this, most of the macaque troops across Gibraltar go for a specific type of red clay. But there's this one group, known as the Apes' Den troop, and they've developed their own unique preference. They actually seek out soil that's clogged with tar from potholes in the road. It's a very specific acquired taste, and it's a perfect example of a local learned tradition. The lead researcher on the study, Dr. Sylvain Lemoine, really hits the nail on the head. He says this isn't just a biological thing, it's a cultural one. We're seeing a new behavior that serves a real purpose, that's passed on through social learning, and that exists for one single reason: their constant proximity to humans. So, what's the big takeaway from this whole fascinating story about monkeys eating dirt? Well, it's a really powerful, real-time example of the huge impact we have on the animal kingdom, whether we mean to or not. The bottom line is, we are fundamentally changing the planet, and animals are being forced to adapt to survive. The macaques in Gibraltar aren't just changing what they eat, they are changing their very culture. They're inventing new traditions, all to cope with the world that we've built around them. And that really leaves us with a pretty heavy question to think about, doesn't it? This story is a clear, visible example of our influence. You can literally see it happening. But it makes you wonder, what other, much more subtle changes are we causing in animal cultures all over the world without even realizing it?